anybody who has any interest in senior issues, which should theoretically be all of you, uh, please join and when you join, it'll bring in some more money so we could afford some more meetings. Okay, and if you want to vote for the officers, which will happen at the convention, but there are some details about that make it easier for everyone to vote. You need to join. There's a deadline that we'll get to. So if you don't join by that date, you can't vote. The other thing is that you need to be a member if you want to run for an office. You have to be, we have a form for you to fill in, and the form will come out on a certain date that we'll get to later, but you need to be a member before you fill in the form. So those are the real reasons why it's important to join the caucus as soon as possible. Okay, so next thing on any questions?
There's a hand raised.
Oh, whose hand is that?
Sarah.
Oh, Sarah, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. I hadn't planned to be here.
Whoop, your audio disappeared. You're
Sorry.
muted somehow.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you. I want to make another point about why it's important to join caucuses. I agree with all the points you've made, but the other thing is this really is where the grassroots articulate their voice. So this is our place to come together and express the content of what we feel, as well as the sort of solidarity with the party itself. That happens on the floor, I think, the solidarity with the party. But here is where we express our ideas and thoughts and hearts and minds. And I hope everyone will join this caucus and other places that articulate your passions. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, the caucus chairs all got together and formed a little group. And Sarah is our leader and spokesman for that group. In other words, if there's something we want the CDP to do for the caucuses, we make her to ask so that so she gets the bad reputation. Okay. So let's move on to the next item, which is the officer election details by Corrine. And she's been having a little trouble with her video, so forgive her if it doesn't quite work out right. So Corrine, unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome. Can you see me? Am I stable? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So welcome, everyone. There's so many people I can't see on all the screens, but welcome to the Senior Caucus. And as elections chair, here I am to share with you what Mike was leading up to. And knowing what position you want to run for is knowing what they do, of course. And I think there's a link in the chat. I'm not quite sure if Angelica put that in. It describes things.
She did.
So you can look at that, you can download that, and you can consider it if you're considering running. And of course, we do need you to be a member again. This is real important. By the time that you sign up, which will be April 11th, is when we open nominations. So if you have already been through the process, thank you, Angelica. If you've been through the process and you've paid your dues or gotten a waiver and you're on the list, then, we will be sending you out a link to a Google form, which I will only have access to. And you will fill out a form, and it's very self-explanatory, and they will have that on file. And we'll check, of course, to see, oh, yes, you are a member. And moving forward, then elections, nominations will then close on May 2nd. My brain is not looking right. May 3rd. Okay, so you have all that time to fill it out, and it's very clear and no, you can, it's exactly the details that you need. You don't have to wonder, what do I need to say and about this that am I running for? Because we will also ask you to give a little tiny blurb about yourself. Why are you running? We want you to articulate that, okay? So May 4th, then I will have the list. We'll go over that and then move on. We'll send to you all who are running then a list of eligible voters. And this is where the eligible voters comes into play, right? You have until April 26th to sign up to be an eligible voter. Yeah. Okay. So then May 30th, technically, we're not sure 100% that Friday at 4:30, we're having our caucus, right? And we will be voting via Google. And then you will also, by that time, we will give you that link for that. And we'll be voting electronically at the exact time frame and date that we'll be at the convention. So, and if you have any questions, I'm here to entertain them.
I have sort of a question because I think it's something that you weren't at the meeting where we discussed it. That
Mm,
it's like what we will probably do is on one of the evenings of the convention week, we will have a meet the candidates session. And at that time, anyone who's running for any office will have a few minutes to talk about why they're great. And but we won't be voting that day. What we will be doing is we will be voting at the convention, at which it hasn't been confirmed, but that should be Friday of the convention at 4:30 to something like 7.
right.
And you can vote that time. So that saves us in that meeting from going through, having everyone speak who's running.
Yes.
And then we can have just a regular kind of meeting or informational kind of stuff at
Sure.
the
So,
actual convention.
Mike, there
right.
is a hand raised.
Yeah, I know, I see it. Diana?
Good evening. My question is, Corinne mentioned voting is by Google. Is that Election Buddy?
No,
No.
it'll be Election Buddy.
Yes?
Oh, we changed it to election buddy. Sorry, catching up on that. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. So, we'll be doing election buddy. Yes.
Okay.
And so that way it'll be, easy for everybody you'll get the link, you'll vote, we'll get the results. It'll be there tabulated. It'll be with privacy. Yeah. Hopefully that explains that for everybody. And what was the next thing? I think that's it. And now, if there happens to be a position that is not having anybody run for, then we will entertain nominations from the floor, but only we have to do that in advance. Okay, and I will get to that if we cross that bridge. So,
Yeah, the bottom line there is the only floor nominations that will occur is if there's nobody who has nominated themselves.
so even if there's just one person and or more. So I hope that clarifies that. And thank you, Diana, for reminding me about the difference between Election Buddy and Google. Thank you.
And if there's only one person running for a position, they automatically win and they won't be on the ballot.
Well, it'll kind of be by what's called acclamation, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we have acclamation by acclamation. And so even if we do have elections buddy and everybody votes for all the same, I don't know. How would we deal with the people that are not at the convention that want to vote is the question then, right? So, but they're members.
No, I think Election Buddy will explain that. In
Yeah,
other words, you may vote, here's the people, here's the ballot, but
right.
or here are the people who will be on the ballot.
Mhm.
And the voting will take place Friday between 4:30 and whenever.
So that way it's recorded and it's kept and we can review it. And if there is anybody that wants to say that, yes, they did sign up to be a member, but something happened, then they will become a provisional ballot. But I don't think we'll have those if everybody's doing their ultimate best to sign up beforehand, right? So
Right.
it will,
Except that a floor nomination, thinking. Yeah,
yeah,
floor nomination also has to be a member by that date.
you do. And
Yeah.
okay, right. And any other questions? I guess there was one question in the chat that somebody said, how do I get, where was it? A newsletter. They want to know how do they get on the newsletter. And I do believe that you have to be a member and you have to send, you give your email to receive that newsletter. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, we've had a lot of trouble in that people have been signing up to be in the caucus and not giving us their email address. You may as well not sign up at that point because the way we can communicate with you is through our emailed newsletter.
Right.
But that isn't the main point here. The main point is that if there are floor nominations and you want to make a floor nomination for yourself or have someone make it for you, you still have to have joined by the date in the calendar.
Right. And so exactly, but so people just need to make sure when if they think that they've given all the information, but I'm not sure how that information wouldn't be processed through Cadem. Is there a place where you can avoid not putting your email when you sign up for a caucus?
Cadem only knows who the people who are delegates are, but the caucus is open and the nominations for chair is open to any Democrat.
Right, but to be a member, you have to go through the Cadem website is my point.
Right. And it's the links to join are in the newsletter that we just got. If you joined after April 2nd, which is not that long ago, we don't have the information from Cadem yet, but you'll be getting it soon. You'll be getting the newsletter soon.
Yes, so I hope that answers everybody's questions. So
No, it apparently does not answer Stephanie Ligon's question. So Stephanie? Where'd you go, Stephanie? Stephanie, do you still want to ask a question? If so, raise your hand, electronic hand.
My hand is up again.
Oh, okay.
I have my question is so that members don't feel that they were left out or missed, or there's a hiccup along the way, as we sometimes do have. Is there a way for members to verify prior to the election that they are on the list and will get a ballot, that they're not missed? Do you have any kind of
Yes, we will be
something in place?
sending out newsletters.
Okay.
And the bottom line is if they get a newsletter, they're a member.
Okay, so everybody should watch out to see if they
Yeah,
get.
watch out for newsletters. And of course, you won't know to expect a newsletter because they don't come out regularly. So that is an issue. But if so, we've got an email address that you can send to that Corinne will be answering. And you can ask her if if you are a legitimate member.
And just a suggestion, maybe in your newsletter, you might just want to say to members, if you want to confirm that you are a member, call Kareem at this phone number.
Yeah, we'll do that. But
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, this is Howard. One other way you could confirm you're a member is I joined all my caucuses and I got a receipt from Cadem saying the dues that I paid. So I think that will be an acceptable proof of membership because it shows I'm a member of the Senior Caucus, the Black Caucus, number of other caucuses, and I've used that in the past.
That's a good point, and it's especially good this year because people will only be getting that. People who join in 2025 will be the only members. In other words, if you were a 2024 member or before that, even, it's not, the membership you got in 2024 is from January 1 to December 31. So you need to rejoin if you want to vote or if you want to run.
That is a good thing that the gentleman just said. However, this is the last thing I'm going to say. There are people who have had to come back to show that they had that receipt that did not get a ballot. So all I'm saying is always double check prior to, so you don't have those hiccups.
Okay, no hiccups. That's the rule. Okay, so I think we're about ready to start going through.
You got more hands up.
Oh, okay. So Stephanie, that answered your question, or did it?
She can't unmute.
Yeah, I did the thing that's supposed to make her unmute. Okay, well, all right.
Yes, it did answer my question. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Next up, we have Sarah again. Sarah?
Sorry, just another point to add to Diana's. Maybe you said it and I missed it, but if not, there's apologies if repeat. There's a portal for delegates. You can also theoretically see your caucus membership in there if you've paid. But if you've requested a waiver, then that's different. That's held by the caucuses. But it's another way to double check is in your portal.
If you are a delegate, but if you're not a delegate, that doesn't work.
Right.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, Corinne, you're up again.
Yeah, so just confirming everybody, you have my personal email and personal phone number. I am going to be working with, of course, our treasurer who gets and our chair that gets the updated list, right? And making sure that we add to it our the newsletter. And if we can verify that you are a member, that's how we go by. So I hope that clarifies that a little bit more. And through the newsletter will be the election buddy link and whatnot, Okay, hopefully that explains it.
But I can tell you, if you get the newsletter, what we do in the newsletter is we have when your expiration date was. So if you think you joined, or if you believe that you joined in 2025, take a look at the newsletter. And if you join in the latest newsletter, if you joined before April 2nd, yeah, it'll tell you that you're 2025. We'll say your expiration date is December 31st, 2025. Okay, any other hands? No. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the officers. So I'm going to do them on the in the order that they were on the agenda. And I think we should start with Val. So Val, if you could tell everyone what you have to do, how much effort it takes, how much time it takes, and all that kind of stuff, just so people don't come in and then be surprised.
Okay, I am the Northern Vice Chair of the caucus, and that I represent the areas of the North Coast and the east side of northeastern California, which is quite red, and the Bay Area and Sacramento. So it's a large area. Most of it is Democratic. However, the east side of Caucasiania is pretty red. So part of my job is to kind of keep track of how things are going. And in the eastern part, to make sure that we have candidates to run for office in Congress and the state Senate and the Assembly, and to make sure that the Democrats are represented. And I work with the regional directors and to try to make sure that everyone is on the same page as far as materials. I'm part of the organizational group that tries to get all of the central committees to become part of the activities that are going on. And it's quite an exciting group. And just before all of the, we have meetings. Besides the convention, we try to have a meeting every other month. And we try to get people to speak who will inspire and educate our seniors about the caucus's main thrust. Of course, for seniors, one of the big items is Social Security. And we've worked quite closely with the Social Security groups to make sure that Social Security is functional, and also to make sure that just recently we got a big victory, and that our GPO and WEB were both passed and signed by Biden, our president at that time. So it can be, we try to get speakers, and so just before all of the meetings, we try to make sure that we have an agenda that will appeal to people. Thank you.
Okay. Next up would be our Vice Chair Central, who is not in good health and could not make the meeting, but I would say that she would probably say a lot of similar things to what Val just said. So next up, we have the Vice Chair South. So Janine?
Hi, thanks, Mike, Chair. And I'm actually had a little trouble getting on because I'm traveling right now. But one of the things that I love about being the vice chair, one of the vice chairs, is really planning the meetings and being able to find people that are interesting, programs that are interesting, or organizations that are interesting to be able to bring to caucus meetings. So I'm with LACDP as well. It's the largest Democratic party, the LA County party. So stay busy with that. We're going to be starting a Medicare for All task force there. And yeah, that's what I've been doing as vice chair here in Southern California. I'm not sure how long people are speaking about their positions.
Yeah, no, that is what we're talking about. So would you say it's a big effort, a medium effort, or a large effort to put the work in to be a vice chair? You're muted.
Yeah, I would say it's medium. It's I think that the planning, we meet pretty often so that we we're as prepared as possible. But I would say, it's a medium amount of commitment. And I know that we've started another kind of subcommittee, an outreach subcommittee, to be able to try to get the membership up, which I think is going to be a big push this year. Kind of hitting the refresh button now that it's after the new year. So yeah. Um, that's about it.
Okay, well, it's good to know you're happy in your position. Okay, next up is the secretary. So Howard, you want to unmute and describe what a secretary is supposed to do? You're muted.
Am I unmuted? I'm Howard
You're fine
Hagerman,
now.
Secretary. Yeah, and I am not running for re-election, but I wish to mention a couple things that the secretary does. First of all, secretary determines there's a quorum present. So the ability to count is really important. And I know that in your cognitive test, things that happen because I've been really sick and I'm getting cognitive tests is adding and subtracting. You also need to know Robert's Rules of Order, as well as how a motion is formatted. You have to pay attention to the agenda and do minutes. So it does take a while and it does take a literacy. And again, I encourage people to run for that office. It's a good way to learn what is happening at the meetings because you have to listen. So I encourage people to run for secretary at this term, and I'll be serving the caucus in another capacity. But I also encourage people to join the caucus. As I mentioned, I did join a whole bunch of caucuses, and I do have my receipt and my proof. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate all the hard work you and the other officers have done.
Oh, thank you. Next up, we have the treasurer, who I don't think is here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she had some other,
I didn't hear what Howard said.
oh. Basically, it boils down to this. The treasurer, the main duty of the treasurer is to take minutes at each meeting, especially each official. This meeting isn't really official because there's nothing, we're not talking about anything that we have to vote
For
on.
the secretary.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the secretary. Thanks for mentioning that before I went off the deep end. But keeping minutes, so somebody who knows how to keep minutes and is somewhat familiar with Robert's Rules of Order will buy you with the book if you become our treasurer. It's an easy book.
Secretary.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on treasurer for some reason. It's an easy book to read. It's only it's hard to see. It's only 900 pages. But there is an abbreviated version that you can get, and that'll get you pretty much what you know, what you need to know for taking minutes. The secretary needs to, they need to know what a quorum is, which is easy enough to know, and that we have one because we can't vote in a meeting unless we have a quorum. And just incidentally, a quorum, there's two halves of the quorum. One is you need to have a quorum of the members and you need to have a quorum of the officers, and we do have both today. So some knowledge of like Microsoft Word or Word or a word like a word, what's the word? A compatible program is required in order to take the notes so that we can all read them. Take the notes and the minutes and spreadsheet. Using a spreadsheet is also important. You could also get by with using Google Sheets and Google Docs. Just need to know a little bit about it. So, and you need to be able to attend all the meetings, some of which, if you're a delegate, you will be, no doubt, attending the convention meetings. And these meetings, the Zoom meetings, are no challenge. But the challenge could be you do need to go to the e-board meetings to do your secretary stuff, and that can get very expensive. So any other questions about that, Mary? You are muted. Okay, very good. Connie? You're muted, Connie.
My hand wasn't up. I was just telling you to say secretary, not treasurer.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, except that now we're moving to treasurer, so I'm very likely to say secretary. So, sorry. I'm old. What can I tell you? Okay, next up, we have the treasurer. And as I say, I don't think she's here. I think I remember getting a note that said she had to, business that she had to attend to. So what the treasurer does is, they do several things. They keep the membership list up. And of course, I help them with that because it just makes it easier if two of us are working on it. They keep track of how much money we have in the bank, we call it, but it's actually Cadem holds our money for us. So we have to periodically find out how much money we have, and then we should be reporting it at the meetings at some point or another, but we haven't been doing that, and hopefully we'll be doing it next term. And otherwise, the treasurer is part of the officer corps that plans the meetings and all that kind of stuff, all the regular business stuff. In fact, all of the officers do that. Angelica? Did that answer your question?
Pardon me if I am duplicating and I missed it, but I do want to say as a former treasurer for this caucus that the treasurer is also responsible for maintaining the voting member lists as well.
Mhm. Right. Okay. I assume, Connie, that answered your question. But if not, raise your hand again. Okay, I see Diana Love's hand.
Quick question. Will you give us the name of the person who's running for treasurer?
Oh, we don't know yet because the nomination period has not yet opened. So,
Aha.
but our current treasurer is Carol Taylor.
Okay.
Carol Taylor, yeah,
Thank you.
from Sonoma.
Okay.
Yeah, we know who she is, and she
Okay.
is very good in her role. Okay, so next up is the communications director, Angelica.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just quickly say because it's now 4:45. For the communications director, I have been working closely with our officers whenever we need anything written. If we're working on our newsletters, I will work with whomever is writing, or I will write myself, and it always changes depending on the individual officers who are currently in the seats. So I've worked with Mike differently. I've worked with our former chair, Ruth Carter, in a different way. But I certainly am involved with those newsletters. I do maintenance of our social media accounts. Currently, I've been tasked by the officers to create a website. We have not had one. And just provide support in various ways. For example, our membership drive, working on the scripts for our phone calls with the other committee members. And I'll stop with that.
Okay, and I will add that we turn to Angelica often when we want to invite speakers for our meetings. And she comes up with the verbiage and actually does the inviting sometimes. So, any questions on any of that? Anybody? Okay. Next up is the DNC report. Well, we had a DNC person that was going to do it, and it turns out that she decided that she didn't want to. So I think what I'd like to do is I see Jason Park here.
There's a couple DNC members here, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there's Andrew, and
I think I see Deborah Skurnick here as well, who may be slightly more senior in terms of being a member of the senior caucus than I am.
Was that an insult?
No. It's a,
Yeah.
if anything, it's a salute to her amazing service to the party.
Okay. Would you like to do it, Deborah? Just
I'll
what's
just
been going on with the DNC, and there'll be some questions, pre-warned.
Okay, and Andrew can help me with those.
Yeah, we have a lot of help with the
And
DNC.
Jason too. We're all
Yeah.
part of the
Oh,
same
Jason,
team.
yes.
Yeah.
And
I'm here too. This is Keith.
Oh,
oh,
Keith.
hey, Keith.
Oh,
Keith is even more senior.
Annalisa's
and-
there too.
Yeah.
Annalisa.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Annalisa.
Yes,
Annalisa
I didn't
is
see
here, yeah.
everybody here.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness. This could have been a DNC meeting. Anyway, so,
Yeah,
Deborah,
I'll go ahead. Well, as you know, it was quite a week between the markets going crazy, and I understand internationally this afternoon they've already gone wacko. So more fun this week with that. But I think the true inspiration this past week were two things. One, Cory Booker's amazing 25+ hour speech. It warmed my heart. It gave me hope. It was hopefully a beginning for more Democrats speaking out. And then, of course, the incredible protests we had throughout the country and actually globally were amazing. And what was nice this time was to see the media actually giving it attention that it definitely needed. But one of the factors I had when I was picking our new DNC chair and vice chairs and so forth, the question I asked them all was I wanted someone who was going to kick ass. Okay, that was and of course I got a chuckle. But the other part to it was I think a lot of people have been very upset over the years with the DNC using consultants to help them with the convention and different things like that. And sometimes there was a conflict of interest because they also had individual candidates they were consulting for. And so it's actually a question I remember asking Ken, is that you don't need those when you are going to have an incredible officers and an incredible team of DNC members that have life experience that can help with anything the DNC could use. And as this past week, Ken came up with this new what he's calling like a people's cabinet, an initiative that will be used to connect all of us together on different issues, and especially start attacking some of Trump's, his disastrous policies, as we know from this past week. By working together, we can cut through hopefully a lot of these lies and just really speak to the truth. And so I'm excited about that. I'm sure the other DNC members can elaborate a little bit more on that, what they see from it. But I think the most important thing is that we all have the ability to make our voices heard at the DNC level. So I'll pass that on next to anyone else who would like to talk.
well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Assuming that I'm unmuted. Why has the DNC appeared to be silent on all of this until now-ish? They still appear to be silent on it.
Yeah, and I understand why people think that, but I think because the DNC members, we get emails and so forth, and I know we're all really good about getting on social media what we receive from the DNC. They really haven't been silent. They've been mostly, Ken and all of them have been traveling around the country to a great extent. We're all trying to get them to come. I hear in Orange County, we're working on getting a few of them to come here because we have one left Republican in Orange County, and we want to have a town hall with them. But they are out there. They are very busy. David Hogg will be here in June, right after the convention. And so for me, I don't think they're being silent, but maybe we need to do a better job of showing you what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, every single day they've been putting out a graphic, not the prettiest one. We've heard you on that, but they've been putting out a graphic about what we've done and what the party has been doing. Going through every point, whether it's every single lawsuit, there have been more than 50 on that, highlighting individual members who have attacked back and pushed back against the agenda in the House, whether it's slowing down nominations, putting them on hold, and opposing legislation. And also the efforts within a variety of state parties and state governments as well. We've been hearing a lot of feedback about how the communication needs to be a little bit more social media oriented, more video, less graphics. But believe me, everyone got that got that message on day one, and we've been out there at every single level fighting. Thank you, Sarah. There are 100 more, closer to 174. That's why I love it, because people can always update our statistics wherever we can. I would also point out that there's an effort by the Small Business Council to collect stories about small business owners that are being hurt by these as well. And I know Keith, who's been very active with the Alliance of Retired Americans, might have some additional feedback on what's been going on with that as well. If it's okay with you, Deborah, that I ask him to do that.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith?
Just a little bit on the Wisconsin race. The DNC did
yeah,
put some money in it and a huge amount of effort. They were within their network, along with a million other groups. They made sure that we were phone banking and getting people to Wisconsin, as well as probably not quite as much in Florida and New York. But at the same time, going back to the DNC, you may know that right after the election, a lot of the staff were let go, and I'll put an asterisk on that because there were a couple people that complained about, didn't actually might have sued the DNC on it, but it was very clear when those folks signed up as staff to the DNC that their job may not be available, and that's what materialized. So a lot of people got laid off right after the election. They are now ramping up with their staff. Roger Lau, who was the deputy chief of staff, is now the chief of staff to the chair. And basically, a lot of the officers of the DNC are going around the country to promote the DNC. You've probably seen some in various venues, either physically here or through social media. And I'm going to kind of cross with the California Alliance for Retired Americans. We're sponsored to a resolution in the California legislature, Assembly Joint Resolution 3, Assemblymember Chavo, which calls for Congress and the President to not cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. We've embraced SEIU State Council as a co-sponsor. We have already lobbied the California legislature on it. And similarly, the speaker had asked Chavo's office to have a standalone on Social Security to highlight what the Republicans are doing on Social Security more recently. And they had a hearing this past week, and it's AJR 8 in Sacramento, and Chavo's carrying that as well. That passed, and hopefully we use that as a tool to make sure that if the Republicans aren't going to make sure that Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid aren't privatized, or of the health systems not privatized anymore, that they're going to hold the line and not cut it. Doesn't seem like that. Seems like the guy with orange hair has been putting a lot of leverage on everybody else in the Republican contingency of the House and Senate to basically do what's necessary to provide for the enough resources, or some of the resources, for the tax cuts to the billionaires and corporations.
Yes.
So that's a little tidbit. And I know a lot of the caucuses and councils are trying to put together what happened this past week and highlight a lot of the different groups. Andrew's probably doing it with the small businesses, but all the other groups as well, labor, and all the ethnic groups, women, and trying to get photos on them and send it to the DNC so that they have a repository of some of the activities this past Saturday.
Yes. And along those lines, I just want to thank every single one of you who showed up at these hands-off protests. Everywhere, the outcome was just overwhelming, and it just shows that every corner of this country is fed up with this agenda and is fighting back. You even had districts, by the way, we had the 2 districts in Florida where we've usually lost those by 20 to 30%. We lost each of those races by less than 10%. And I think that even speaks to where the American voter is right now on this agenda and pushing back.
Annalisa, why don't you speak? You've had your hand up forever.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Annalisa. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I was just going to add, they've completely rebranded their social media. Like if you go on to the Democrats' social media, it doesn't look or sound like the previous accounts. Like it uses very edgy, punchy kind of more aggressive language. So they have heard that. And then also it brings a very grassroots oriented, like labor organizer approach to it. Ken Martin, he comes from labor, and so do a lot of the newly elected DNC officers. And so they've been having listening sessions. Like if you follow their social media, you can see that they're meeting with voters. I know that they met with fire victims in Los Angeles. And it's really an approach to organize in all 57 states and territories and bring that organizing to all 3,244 counties in our country. And so you're seeing, like, for example, Ken Martin canvassing in Florida, canvassing for that Pennsylvania Senate seat that we flipped. That was like a very GOP deep red district. So they're working not just at the national level, but also at the state and local level. So, and I will say that I just recently, for the Wisconsin race, I phone banked on a phone bank led by DNC Secretary Jason Ray for both Florida and Wisconsin. So they're really trying to push organizing at the grassroots level, which I love. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much, by the way. Sarah, your hand's up? Question?
Yeah, I so appreciate hearing from you guys. I really do. Because, as I guess Andrew mentioned, the hands-off things. Every one of us is focused on these terrible, trying times and what to do. And I have a question. It is a genuine question. How come these things I don't know what the DNC does do or what is reasonable to expect of them or what the Democrats does. For example, I heard complaints that the hands-off stuff isn't supported by the Democrats. And then it seems to me that that we are partisan and that the hands-off protests are really sort of nonpartisan. So it's maybe not appropriate for us to be there. But the bottom line is, this is truly my question is, I get all the time so much from people who are so angry and fed up with the Democrats. And I don't even know what that is or means or what to say, even though I kind of sort of think maybe I know what they're talking about. So I really appreciate hearing this and keep it coming. Tell me, I really don't know what to say. I need help.
Okay, if I may take the privilege as the chair and add to that. So far, this has been the best DNC report we've ever had. So I want to thank the DNC member who couldn't make it so that we could go to our own members who are DNC members and get this wonderful report. Annalisa, are you finished or are other people with a couple other people with questions or comments?
I will defer to DNC member Christine Pelosi, since I already spoke, and then maybe I'll circle back.
Okay.
Hi, great to see you, Mr. Chair. Hi, everybody. I would say two things. First of all, the hands off was something that we've been using. In fact, it was funny. We found a Nancy Pelosi quote from 2014, from 2005, from 2018. So hands off has been used quite a while and quite effectively. And in fact, the House Democrats were doing hands off Medicaid in February. So the fight back table, which came up with the hands off approach, actually includes the Democrats. It includes some Democrats who fund those operations. It also includes labor and a lot of grassroots movement groups who have been engaged and involved. There's also a new group, the 5051 group that just started. We were working with them in San Francisco, and frankly, they needed a little bit of organizing help. Basic things like, do you have bathrooms and medics, for example? So everybody is at different levels of ability and organizing. And I think that there was, in response to the last question, I think that there was a strong need to bring people together in a new way. When I was phone banking for Wisconsin and Nancy Pelosi had us on the calls for 6 weeks, I spoke to many people who frankly told me point blank, I did not vote for the Democrats, or I voted but I didn't volunteer in the fall, but I'm here now for Susan Crawford. So I think you're seeing a realignment now as we're all in the finding out stage. I would also say that yesterday I got up on stage at City Hall in San Francisco and said, I'm a proud member of the Democratic National Committee and we're phone banking. And I was one of 2 speakers the entire day that gave people something to do. I put the link in the chat, phone bank. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're not turning, the rally is not the work. It's interesting, but they don't fear the rally. They fear the work. So if I may just add a plug for the phone banks that we're doing with the California Democratic Party, the Labor Council, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, many others are putting their call crews to work. So if you're ready, this week, it's very important. 3 hours ago, the Republicans announced that they were going to have a vote on the budget this week. So this week, we need to make those calls like we were making Saturday morning before we marched. Saturday afternoon, we had a call crew calling Valadeo's district. They have a new line. So I'm going to conclude with this line because I want everybody to hear it and internalize it and oppose it. The White House, members of Congress, even my mom was at a wedding in Scranton, and so she went to the Scranton event, and the Scranton Congress member said it too. Oh, the Republican. We're not going to cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid from any deserving Americans. Well, see, there's that adjective there, deserving. Who are they to decide who's deserving? The people that paid into Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid patients. And even if you were to agree with them, which we don't, that it's okay to cut Medicaid or cut Medicaid spending by forcing work requirements on people, to collapse Medicaid would be to collapse the rural hospital. So the hospital in Valadeo's district would close under these cuts because it would close under the weight of lost funding. And the hospitals that remained would be stuck doing emergency care. So it's very important that we Democrats get on the phones this week to tell those House members that we're patching constituents through to their comment lines to tell them, hands off. But in all that you do, take on that word deserving because it's your money and it's your benefits. And we're not going to let Elon Musk decide who is deserving of public health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. In fact, the senior caucus last year in a couple of our meetings did phone banking training so that we could help keep Trump from being elected. Unfortunately, we can't mark that up as a success, but everyone who attended those meetings knows how to phone bank. And if you want to know how to phone bank, look at the newsletters that go out. It refers you to our YouTube channel where you can find that training that we gave last year. Next up, we have Telka. So unmute.
Hi, yeah, it's Tekla. I'm the
sorry.
new chair of the Mendocino Democratic Party. we had three rallies put on yesterday in Mendocino County, and I attended the Ukiah one. I just want to say that the rallies in our county were all completely organized by the indivisible groups, who were not welcoming to Democrats, but we did everything we could to support their rallies, the rallies of all liberals, I felt, and use our networking to bring as many people to them as possible. And I think they were very successful, highly attended, very peaceful, and very positive. I have a concern that there seems to be a disconnect between the Democratic Party and these disaffected liberals who seem to be reaching out to find something, some kind of uh, cohesion, but we're not really giving them the bridge to join back with us. And I feel like we do need to find words to reach out. So what I'm doing, my personal activities lately, is to attend all their meetings. I'm attending every indivisible meeting in the county as they go, and I'm just listening. And then I'm saying to them, what do you need from us as Democrats? And what is the message? I'm putting together the message that Democrats and progressives have a parallel and coinciding agenda. And where we don't coincide, we need to figure out how to be strategic in our votes to make what we want happen. So I feel like I would like to hear more from the Democrats on maybe language that is inclusive to the indivisible groups and the other 5051 and all those to bring us all together. It seems to me that the main thing is let's get together. And we need to I think we need to not quite be so sure that we know everything about organizing liberals. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, and point well taken, really. I was at the rally in San Diego, and we were where we had 12,000 people, and it occurred to me often that this is something the party should be doing. But on the other hand, if the party does it and they aren't real hot on the party, they may not want us there, or they may not come to a rally that we organize. So it's an interesting topic to discuss at some later time. Terry Rodriguez, a question regarding the DNC.
Okay, I was going to refer back to the last statement about how we can get along or be in camaraderie with the indivisible group. If you look at my photo, my background, I'm the guy in the hat, but the rest of the folks are indivisible. And as AADC president, as well as working with our local Placer County Democratic Central Committee, for which I'm a member, one of my big things about 5 years ago was to have them as part of our community, and they've been part of our community. Yesterday, Indivisible was the organizer for our event in Auburn, California, and we worked in partnership. They worked with partnership with us. So the best way to, what you might say, coordinate with Indivisible is to participate and get to know them and get in with their organization, learn about their issues, and when we develop what we have is a common interest. And we do have a common interest. So we're succeeding here. I'm not too sure about Mendocino County. It's been a long time since I've been there, and they may have a different culture out there. So I thought I'd just offer that input.
Okay. And at the end of our meeting, that open forum, I think would be a good time to discuss what happened yesterday and talk about what you experienced or what you saw or what you heard and all that and the information we just got. So Annalisa, do you still want to be circled back to?
Sure. I was just going to add a shout out. Like Karine C., you and East Area Progressive Democrats did an awesome job organizing the hands off yesterday in Glendale. And so I think that's like a prime example of Democrats like leading. East Area Progressive Democrats organized like Laura Friedman, our Congress member, our assembly member, the local electeds and the city council and things. So I definitely think Democrats have a role to play. And I think like this local energy rises up to the federal level. So like we should keep it up. I think it brings a lot of energy, and including people who maybe don't know too much about the Democratic Party or are, you know, put off by it right now, but it's a gateway back in to the party. So we need to be using that, and we need to be in these spaces organizing. Thank you.
Yeah, and not only Democrats that don't know what Democrats are about, but even I saw a lot of Republicans, disenchanted Republicans yesterday, and some of them are behind me in the picture of me. Andrew, you're muted.
There we go. Yes, just to build on that, the Culver City hands-off event was put together by a member of the Culver City Democrats United Club who reached out and said, how come there isn't one in our community? And she made it happen. The Women's March, we had a couple of folks from the California Jewish Democrats Board who were able to help them with their messaging and outreach and inclusiveness. So, it's about all of you getting involved with them. This is very reminiscent of what happened in 2004 when we had a similar level of, I would say, disenchantedness. We barely lost that race just because of Ohio. And there were a lot of groups that came into existence at that time. And Democratic Party people not only got involved, but then we ended up getting more people from those groups involved in the Democratic Party as well. And a lot of the leaders you see today in the party, folks like Aggie Kessler, she was involved with the Dean organizations. So, it's a chance for all of us to come together and feed off of each other's energy to build something new.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Lisa, anything else? Annalisa, sorry.
I agree with what everything that's been said here. And I personally think like all politics are local. Like I think us showing up, organizing, energizing, and I think that's a virtuous cycle that carries all the way on up. And what we're going to do in 2025 and like Virginia's elections that are coming up, that'll be sort of like a bellwether. And then of course 2026 and 2028. So I'm actually excited. I think the energy is shifting in our direction, and you can feel it too. Cory Booker, he's like, it's constituents from New Jersey that pushed him to go 25 hours and 5 minutes. So I think we're all doing great work here.
Okay, thank you, Angela. And okay, I'm so confused because we have an Angelica, whatever. But Annalisa, thank you very much, and all of our DNC members for answering the questions. And I'm thrilled to death about all of that. But it's time to move on to our. You had the last word, Annalisa. So it's time to move on to our next item, which is more typical of our regular meetings, and that is Joe Sislowski, who is, as I mentioned earlier, is Commissioner of California Commission on Aging, which should be of interest to all of us. And he's going to talk about California's policy priorities for older adults. And following him, we will have Deanna Inglesrud, I think that's how you pronounce it, talking about California and U.S. legislation of concern to seniors. So take it away, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. A bit of a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best. I've been involved with the California Democratic Party, gosh, since the disco era, back when I was a young Democrat, as president of the UCLA Bruin Democrats. So I still feel very young at heart, but I actually just had my 65th birthday and I'm now Medicare eligible. So it's great to be here with the Senior Caucus. It's also great to be here with Mike. We've worked together for many years on all of the nerdy stuff that keeps our state party running with the old organizational development committee and Also, just want to pay tribute to the other officers. I know sometimes the work they described is not very glamorous, but it is the hard work that helps build our party, especially during these challenging times. So yes, my affiliations were mentioned for identification purposes only. None of these things that I do either with my day job or my commission are political organizations. They're nonpartisan, but they do have very important values. I am gonna juggle around here. I'm gonna share my screen for a second, and see if I can do this. You should be able to see a website up on the screen.
It's coming. There it is.
Okay. And then I'm also going to try to include, forgive me, I need more than two hands here, to put in a link to the California Commission on Aging in the chat. So for those who want to do some additional looking around, that's weird. It says to control enter. Okay, there we go. That came through. So hopefully that is something, if you do want to do some further exploration, the California Commission on Aging is the principal advocacy body from the state for older Californians, and it's a catalyst for change that supports and celebrates Californians as they age. I did a couple of quick acknowledgements earlier, but I do have to do one more very important one. The vice chair of the California Democratic Party, I see David Campos here as well, and he is also a member of the California Commission on Aging. So David, if at any point you want to either jump in or comment at the end, I saw you there earlier. Now the screen's a little more populated, so I hope you're in there still. But again, we want to acknowledge David's hard work with the commission as well. The other thing I mentioned with affiliation is I'm executive director of a group called the Center for Healthcare Rights. And it is an organization that helps people, older adults, people with disabilities, their families, and other caregivers to navigate the Medicare program. And you may have heard, those of you not in LA County, of the Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program, or HICAP. There's a HICAP program in each and every county throughout California. And again, I'm going to put in my organization, and also going to include an 800 number that anyone can use to call to get advice on Medicare from either our organization or organizations like ours around the state. And I'd encourage you, to those who need a little help navigating Medicare, to please call that 800 number. If you're in LA County, it will come to my organization, the Center for Healthcare Rights. If not, it will go to your own county's HICAP program. So those of you who know me and have seen my participation with the Senior Caucus over the years, and this is a conversation I had with Mike recently, I've been pushing for the caucus to differentiate itself on issues that affect older adults. So, you know, any random issue like traffic affects everybody, but I've always thought we should focus on those that affect older adults most. And having said that, many such issues, as we just discussed, are federal in nature, things like Social Security. But today, my remarks are going to focus on the state level. And so I just mentioned the California Commission on Aging is mandated to serve as the principal advocate on behalf of older Californians. And our primary responsibility is to advocate, advise, and educate in support of something called the California Master Plan for Aging. And hopefully you all know about that, but if you don't, I'm going to do one more link here and encourage you to learn more about the master plan. Those of you who are historians know, of course, about the master plan for public higher education that helped to organize the University of California, the Cal State system, and the community colleges. And this is something in that basic approach. It was first raised during the governor's race a couple times ago, and Gavin Newsom, when he was a candidate, committed to these ideas, and upon taking office, it did introduce the California Master Plan for Aging. There are 5 bold goals, and I apologize, I haven't been sharing my screen on some of these things. I don't know if you now see the website of the Center for Healthcare Rights. Is it still visible? I don't see it. I'm seeing some shaking heads. And now I'm going to link to the thing I just sent you, which I'm not sure how much of the screen you will see, but here are the 5 goals of the master plan. And I really recommend you look at this because it's been driving a lot of what's been going on at the state policy level. And my hope is we will also use some of these goals for our own work here with the Senior Caucus. If you can see this, there's housing is one of the main goals, health, inclusion and equity, and again, combating isolation among older adults. Caregiving is just crucial to this population, and affording aging, which may be a little more difficult as you look at the S&P futures overnight and what's happening to some folks' retirement savings. But those are the 5 goals. They're guiding principles for our work on behalf of older Californians. And I do, again, commend these goals for the work that we do. Working from that, the California Commission for Aging has identified 4 policy priorities. Let me throw that in the chat as well. There you go. And you will see there that the 4 priorities, this actually came as a charge from the health secretary. You know, the master plan on aging is wonderful, but it has, you know, hundreds of initiatives under these 5 goals. So he told us pick 3, and we did pick 3 and 3.5. But one of them was to improve behavioral health services for older adults. Mental health services for older adults wasn't really very focused on, and we kept ringing that bell. And I'm glad to say it's been a big success. A lot of legislation and the administration's efforts have focused much more on mental health for older adults. Expanding the workforce, both by older adults, older adult workers, but again, that professional caregiver cadre, trying to encourage more workforce support for people who want to make a living as caregivers. The third is, as you would expect, housing and homelessness options for older adults. And then that half one is looking at other ways to look for innovative solutions to support health and well-being of these populations, including integration of services, no wrong door policies, things like that. So following up on that, the commission does have, so these are the policy priorities, if you can see on the screen, again, behavioral health, workforce development, housing, and the innovative solutions. The commission has looked at various legislative efforts, and I think this is my last link I'm going to throw in the chat. And so I don't want to step on Dina's thunder. She's going to be up next. And those of you who've seen her present either at the state level or we're lucky enough to see her each month at the county committee level, no one does it better than her. So I'm not going to spend much time on that. But I do want to mention that the California Commission on Aging is in support of 2 budget requests that do focus on housing and homelessness, including some long-term care initiatives. And we're also sponsoring one bill that may not come up if you're looking at older adult issues right away, but it's actually a bill that would extend its current policy, but it's due to sunset, but it would extend alternative teleconferencing provisions under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. You know, previously, before the pandemic, if an older adult wanted to make public comment or learn or see the proceedings of a group like the California Commission on Aging, you'd have to fly to Sacramento or San Jose or head over to Ventura County or the Inland Empire. Now, just as we're having this meeting on Zoom, those meetings are hybrid meetings. And so people can listen in and again, participate via teleconferencing. And that just creates much greater public participation, increased diversity, and ultimately broader representation. So that bill number is Senate Bill 470 by Senator Laird, and I would recommend you all take a look at that. So that's the gist of it. And again, that last link, you can actually look at the other bills that we've taken support positions on. Dina, take a peek at that when you can. But there's a whole set of issues around, Medi-Cal, patient visitation, combating fraud, Medicare supplement coverage, retirement care facilities, and all the rest. And we're going to be continuing to look at legislation. So glad to talk about what's next. Again, David, I cannot see if you're there, if David Campos wanted to add anything, if I missed anything in your view, David.
He doesn't seem to be here.
Okay, he may have stepped away. I did see him here earlier. So we hopefully I caught everything that he would have wanted as well. Let me just say there are a couple other things coming up. On May 22nd, the California Commission on Aging is going to be meeting here in the Los Angeles area, focusing on the wildfires here, and older adults and people with disabilities. And again, these weren't the only wildfires. We had the ones up in Paradise. There's other disasters, God forbid, earthquakes and mudslides. And, we do have that ecology here all throughout California. So, the lessons that we learn will be hopefully generalizable, but we'll be looking at disaster preparedness, disaster response, and disaster recovery. And again, hopefully learning from the experience here and suggesting some improvements, both for our recovery, but other areas around the state. And finally, I began my remarks by discussing how about 8 years ago, candidates for governor were asked to commit to the master plan for aging. Gavin Newsom did that. And then once he became governor, took that commitment very seriously with his work to bring about the California Master Plan for Aging. And so I would say that with all the advocacy work we've talked about, obviously at the federal level, please remember these issues at the state level. And it's up to us to hold the next set of candidates from governor, to the other statewide or other constitutional officers down to the local legislators, and of course, even local officials at the municipal level hold their feet to the fire to reach that same standard. So I hope you'll remember these issues as we get into the next election cycle, which, at the convention, we'll be seeing many of these folks who are throwing their hats into the ring. Anyway, I look forward to joining you all in that effort, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. And I know there's some questions in the chat. I apologize. I can't see them all, but if there are, I don't know if you wanted me to look at those, Mike, or if you wanted to have people raise hands, or what's your pleasure? I know
Here's something we could do because we are running out of time.
Understood.
But I could send. I'll save the chat, or you can save the chat and answer the questions, send them to me in an email, and I'll put them in a newsletter.
Let me. Well, real quickly, people asked about universal health care. People are asking about the phone number that someone posted. Thank you.
Right. And there's one question I saw about how can any of those things be accomplished if there isn't healthcare for all?
Right. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to provide a detailed answer on that one. I think that's up to all of us to have that conversation about healthcare coverage and, with attacks on even our status quo with the, ACA and at the federal level, the decimation of the Social Security Administration offices is just unconscionable. As it was, they were understaffed. The coming proposed cuts of Medicaid here in California, we call that Medi-Cal. People don't think of that as Medicare, but Medi-Cal is Medicaid for so many, whether it's long-term care or people who otherwise can't afford it. So, I think I think that's for all of us to work on, and I won't unfortunately have the answer about how to bring improved healthcare coverage about to that level. And finally, there was just a thank you about older adults and mentioning those that have disabilities. I worked on a presidential campaign, and my boss, Fernando Torres Gil, who's over at the UCLA Luskin School and was a federal official with the Department of Aging there and held many other positions. He said, every older adult either has a disability or will have a disability. And, the Venn diagram, has a big middle in it. And if not, we'll have more and, we'll see it there. So Mike, I think I've addressed all those issues and I'll turn the agenda back to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, I'd like to reintroduce Angelica, who is our communications director, and ask her to do her job, which is to introduce the next speaker.
All right. Actually, I'm going to keep it quick because we're so far along in our meeting. I'd like to introduce Deanna Igosra, and with her many hats, I just wanted to highlight that she is a leader in the LA County Democratic Party and serves as co-chair of the Legislative Committee. I'm going to hand it right to you, Deanna. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I wanted to thank Janine for inviting me to come and speak to you guys today. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dina Eigelsrud. I'm one of the Legislative Action Committee co-chairs for the LA County Democratic Party. Our central committee routinely takes up all kinds of legislation. And so this session, we've been monitoring some of the really disastrous bills that the Republicans have been bringing forward in DC. Obviously, I can't talk about all of them because how many hours long would the meeting be? But I will highlight some of the ones that have been brought to our attention. One that's unfortunately already been signed into law, but LACDP unanimously voted to oppose was the Laken-Riley Act, which it was signed by President Trump on January 29th. And we normally don't even take up bills that have been signed into law. But this bill was so significant to everyone for a number of reasons. We did bring it forward because we thought it would be irresponsible of us to not take it up, and at the very least for the Democratic Party to be officially on record in opposition of it. The bill was named after Georgia nursing student Laken-Riley, who was murdered last year by a Venezuelan man. And it requires DHS to detain certain non-US nationals, aliens under federal law who have been arrested for burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. It also authorizes states to sue the federal government for decisions or alleged failures related to immigration enforcement. So under this law, DHS must now detain an individual who is undocumented and who has been charged with, arrested for, convicted of, or admitted to having committed acts that constitute the essential elements of burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. It also authorizes states to sue the federal government over certain immigration-related decisions or alleged failures by the federal government if that decision or failure caused the state or its residents harm, including the whopping financial harm of a mere $100. Again, under this law, these undocumented residents, and this includes dreamers, can now be detained and deported for merely being accused of shoplifting. So the bill circumvents due process. In California, even if you're undocumented, you have a right to an attorney. And this was their first bill that they signed into law. It's labeled 119-1, which means that's the 119th Congress, bill number 1. It was their highest priority. It was the first thing that they accomplished. The Republicans are doing all of these things. Trump's myriad of executive orders, Doge's insane moves to illegally shut down federal agencies, things that fly in the face of everything that's legal because their goal is to make everybody afraid. They want everyone docile, exhausted, and terrified. And Laken-Riley was designed to terrorize dreamers, and really it was designed to terrorize anybody who is a person of color. It's designed to get questioned to people whether they should speak out or not for fear of being deported. For goodness sake, they've even tried to deport Puerto Ricans who are US citizens. Keep in mind that not even a driver's license counts as proper documentation. You need a real ID or a US passport. But with Laken-Riley, the GOP has showed us their hand. They want everyone to submit, they want everyone to be silent, and they want everyone to not assert their rights. And these kind of laws embolden ICE, which will lead them to act even more brazen. So why? Why did they and why are they doing this? They're doing this because they want us to stay home, shut up, and not fight back. This year, 2025, the Trump tax cuts expire and they want to make these things permanent. However, in order to do that, they need to pay for it. And in order to pay for it, they need to take $4 trillion out of the budget. So this is why they are coming for every social safety net program, anything that costs money, and anything that they don't want the American people to stand up and say, no, you're not going to do that. This is why they've tried to shut down USAID, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Department of Education, and now they have their eyes on Social Security. They also want all federal workers, agencies, and people who receive federal funding to feel powerless and afraid. Currently, Musk and Doge are forcing the National Science Foundation to lay off significant portions of staff, and Trump has proposed slashing the National Science Foundation budget by 2/3. This is an existential crisis for academics. The National Institutes of Health shift basically means that NIH funding to university operation budgets will be cut by 75% to be 1/4 of what it is. That's why California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed his lawsuit back in February. But the additional implications for flu vaccines and new vaccines and infectious diseases and blood transfusions, basically how to keep people safe, this is really going to impact healthcare for everyone, especially seniors. You have Medicare, you have Medi-Cal. A lot of these community hospitals and institutions which depend on federal funds are going to have a very hard time getting funding, and many will simply close, leaving people out in the cold everywhere. And even with these new tariffs, the impacts to drug costs are going to be astronomical because so many medications are imported from Canada and Mexico. This is just going to be a disaster for public health in general. And that's not even going to count for what happens if a natural disaster happens. We aren't even talking about food inspections or water quality safety or air quality regulations from the Environmental Protection Agency. And the lie is that they're going to be saving money when it's actually really going to be making absolutely everything more expensive for people. The National Science Foundation budget cuts will do something similar to what's happening with the cuts to NIH. If those go through, we can expect a lot of the smaller universities to simply close their doors. And we can expect most of the top academics to move from the United States and Canada and the European Union. And Trump is basically doing his level best to destroy all US universities within his first 100 days. Again, despite what Trump and Musk would like everyone to believe, Congress is who created these things, and it's Congress who controls the budget, and it's Congress who would need to formally eliminate them. We don't have a king. So last month, we took up a series of bills at LACDP. We called it the GOP's disastrous package. It was about 8 different bills, many of which were snuck into the House's package of rules under HRES 5 to be eligible for consideration by the House. And again, as a body, we unanimously opposed these bills. There were 3 bills that assault women's and voters' rights. There's HR 21 S6, which is known as the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. And this legislation was one of the ones that was snuck into the House rules packet. It's already passed the House and it's now in the Senate, and it furthers the goal of the anti-abortion extremists to make abortion care inaccessible across the country. It attempts to interfere with the provision of medical care by placing rigid and harmful requirements on providers and threatening a healthcare practitioner who fails to provide the required degree of care, or a health practitioner or other employee who fails to report such a failure, subject to criminal penalties, including a fine, up to 5 years in prison, or both. And it subjects an individual who intentionally kills or attempts to kill a child born alive from an abortion as being subject to prosecution for murder. Another bill that we oppose is HR 722, which is the Life at Conception Act. This legislation is still in the House, but it does have 69 co-sponsors. All of them are Republican. It basically seeks to codify fetal personhood into law. The idea being that a human being exists from the moment of conception, thus granting that fetus the same legal rights as a person. The problems with that sort of dogma are obvious. That fetal personhood directly challenges the rights of women and anyone capable of pregnancy, and it introduces a whole host of other legal issues to those who use fertility treatments, as there have been rulings in Alabama courts that state embryos used for IVF could be considered extrauterine children. It's an extremist viewpoint, And it's driven by pure ideology, but many of the bill's co-sponsors are from deep red districts that support these kinds of extremes. And the third bill in this category not only assaults women, but it assaults all voters. It's HR 22S128, known as the SAVE Act. This bill was also snuck into the House rules and has a companion bill that was introduced in the Senate. This bill is a threat to the voting rights of millions of Americans. Many of you may know this bill already, but if you don't, it would require all Americans who want to register to vote or update their voter registration to present documentary proof of their citizenship in person. For the vast majority of Americans, this would require either providing a passport or a birth certificate, and government-issued driver's licenses, military or tribal IDs would not satisfy the bill's requirement. In other words, every time a person wants to register to vote or update their registration from moving, getting married, etc., they would have to now go and show a passport or their birth certificate in person to someone. Other things to consider. 146 million American citizens don't have a valid passport. For context, 153 million Americans voted in the 2024 presidential election. In 7 states, less than 1/3 of citizens have a valid passport. Lower income Americans would be dramatically affected. Only 1 in 5 with the income below $50,000 a year have a valid passport. 83% of women change their last name when they marry. 69 million women may not have a birth certificate with their name on it, and they would not be able to use their birth certificate to prove citizenship. The SAVE Act does not include proof of name change or marriage certificates as acceptable proofs of identity. And last, but certainly not least, it would make it impossible for a voter to mail in a registration application, and it would eliminate the ability for groups like the League of Women Voters to conduct voter registration drives. There were 3 other bills we voted to unanimously oppose that would abolish federal departments and agencies. They're all patently absurd, but they are all very real items of legislation that have been introduced. There's HR 899, which is a bill to terminate the Department of Education. It's still in the House, but it does have 34 co-sponsors, all of them Republican, and it would terminate the Department of Education on December 31st, 2026. There's HR 129 and its companion HR 221, which are a pair of bills to abolish the ATF. The legislation was introduced by Lauren Boebert and Eric Burleson of Missouri. It's still in the House, 32 co-sponsors, all of them are Republican, and it abolishes the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which is the agency which plays an essential role in keeping everyone safe by enforcing gun laws that do exist, the few that do exist, and regulating the gun industry that they partner with state and local agencies to trace guns that are used in crimes. There's HR 25, which is a bill to abolish the Internal Revenue Service. That one was also snuck into the House rules. Has 14 co-sponsors, again, all of them Republican. It abolishes the IRS and instead seeks to institute a 30% national sales tax, which would impose a $30 tax on every $100 worth of purchases. As proposed, it would obviously dramatically reduce federal revenues and require deep cuts to public services, and essentially it would increase taxes for working families and would slash taxes for the wealthy, thereby widening the wealth gap. There were 2 other bills to attack sanctuary cities and protections, and they're just despicable. And they get at and play into the same kinds of othering and tropes that Lake and Riley played into. They again are targeting persons of color and seek to punish those who would defend them. And these 2 bills play into the most cynical and racist stereotypes, and they try to reinforce this narrative that they have been pushing, that illegals are responsible for the ills of all of us. There's HR 30 and S158, known as the Preventing Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. Again, snuck into the House rules packet, and it's already passed the House, and this one's in the Senate. And the title of this bill is the most perverted play on the long-standing supported bill known as the Violence Against Women Act. That bill is a bill designed to protect women from domestic abuse. This bill, however, as was the case with Lake and Riley, is problematic in that it calls for immigration enforcement measures against people who have not actually been convicted in court of any particular crime. As a general matter, any such policy would contravene the nation's most basic notions of due process. It would greatly increase the risk of abusive and discriminatory enforcement. And moreover, it ignores the difficulties that survivors of domestic violence face, as it's not uncommon for a survivor of domestic abuse to also be accused of abuse, either by the abusers themselves or by police. And it would greatly increase the likelihood of survivors being exposed to immigration consequences, even when they're the ones seeking help from law enforcement in the first place. And there's HR 32, known as the No Bailout for Sanctuary Cities Act. This legislation was snuck into the Rules House packet. It's still in the House, but it does have 17 co-sponsors, all of them Republican, and it's currently in the House Judiciary Committee. And these are efforts to penalize so-called sanctuary cities. They're back again. On his first day back in office, Trump signed an executive order directing DHS and the Department of Justice to explore denying federal funds to sanctuary jurisdictions and pursue criminal actions against them. The bill would hand any president the sweeping power to strip cities and counties and states of critical federal funding. Specifically, it would define sanctuary jurisdictions and allow the federal government to withhold federal funds that these jurisdictions intend to use to benefit undocumented immigrants. The funding targeted under HR 32 threatens the well-being of all community members, including US citizens and lawful permanent residents, as many essential programs are provided without consideration of legal status and therefore benefit both undocumented and those with lawful status. These programs include the National School Lunch Program, Meals on Wheels, Head Start, public transit, disaster response services, and more. There are also several programs that benefit US citizens' children who may have at least one undocumented parent, like food stamps and Medicaid, which arguably could be covered by this provision. During his first term, the courts repeatedly blocked the DOJ's efforts to halt crime-related federal grants to sanctuary cities. The ruling that the Attorney General lacked the authority to impose such conditions would not only grant that authority, but expand it dramatically, tilting the power balance in favor of the federal government over states and cities. Which leads me to this final new pair of bills by Republicans designed to attack the third branch of government, the judiciary. There's HR 1526 and S 1099, known as the NORA Act of 2025, or the No Rogue Rulings Act. Senator Ted Cruz has been crowing about this issue, saying that nationwide injunctions are an abuse of power. But as we all know, it's been the authority of these lower court judges that have been blocking President Trump's actions nationwide in dozens of court rulings that have halted the White House's efforts to slash the federal workforce. So we've talked about this a lot already. There was a whole bunch of marches yesterday with 3.5 million people out in the streets saying hands off. And nobody could think that yesterday was just the end of the matter by any means, nor should we. This should just be the beginning. We all need to keep up the pressure and overwhelm our representatives with calls and tell them and continue to tell them to stand up for the American people. I wrote this in the chat. Even if you think, hey, I've got a Democrat representing me, I'm safe. No, we need a call, and we need to call them all, because even if they agree with you, they still need to hear from us so that they can say, look, my phone lines have been overwhelmed nonstop. I have to listen to my constituents. I have to vote against this. We need to melt the phone lines. We need to make it abundantly clear to every one of our elected officials that they have got to do everything in their power to fight harder and find the most creative ways to slow absolutely everything in Congress down. Make your calls every morning, make it part of your routine, get your coffee, make your calls, then get dressed for your day. President Lincoln rightly stated, public sentiment is everything. Showing the American people that it's the Democrats who are willing to fight for them is imperative, and it's the right thing to do. And that's my little report for you all.
Thank you. That was really thorough. There have been some messages in the chat. Can you send us a list of these bills? And what I would ask is, why don't you send a list of bills to me and we'll put it in a newsletter?
I will absolutely do that.
Okay. And I think you have my email address.
You have your email address.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Next up, let me see if I can find it. So I'm not making stuff up. Yes, it's marked as open forum, and I think this would be a good time for, oh, Angelica, you wanted to say something?
Oh, go ahead. Oh, actually, I'll just say, thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Dina. There are a number of, I guess, a number of those things that came to, I guess, that caught my attention for the, I guess, for our senior caucus. HR 22. I'm wondering if we need to pursue some of this and do the work to have Kadem take a position on some of these. And I know we have some party leaders here. I'm wondering, should we invest the time to go through that process so that Kadem takes a position, or is this already being worked on by, I guess, enough that we don't have to?
It would be really great if your caucus actually submitted some bills to the legislative committee, because frankly, the more requests they get from a number of variety of sources, the better, I think, as far as I know.
It's already on our plate for the next term that starts in June. Okay, thanks again. So I'll go back to what I was saying. Next on the agenda is open forum, and I think this would be a good time if anyone has any questions or comments or wants to talk about yesterday's stuff and whatever, to take no more than a minute to ask the question and or mention the thing you want to talk about that's important to you. So hands up if you want to speak. Wow, there we go. I was going to say, what an enthusiastic group. Okay, I'm going to run a timer so that because we only have, what is it? We only have 9 minutes left. Oh, gee. Okay, so I'll run a timer for a minute and we'll go from there. So first up is Cynthia Hart. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to say that one thing I really noticed about yesterday was that it was Indivisible that seemed to be organizing it. And I think that the Democratic Party, especially in California, needs to really take note of the fact that their one voice, authoritarian, top-down repression that I see, especially attacking the caucuses, is going to cause people to need to reach out to other organizations and put their energy into other organizations in order to get their voices heard. I felt that way at the state party conventions, and you're going to lose that energy if they don't start listening. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for holding that to less than a minute. Incidentally, if you're saying something you go over a minute, you will hear a beep that sounds like this. Here it comes. There we go. That means you're finish your sentence. What'd you say?
Hello. I would agree with the last speaker. I am a Democratic member as well as a indivisible member. We are organizing people that are interested because they don't want to be with Trump or any of these things that are happening. And we don't want to turn away these good people, these good loving people that want to stand with us. And I have to answer the questions that concern them without turning them away. They are with us if we be with them. That's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to take the questions in the order that you put your hands up. So Jerry Lynn, you're up next.
Yes, I just, in terms of, to follow up with what Angelina was saying, and first of all, to thank Dina for the great presentation. However, it's really important for, I think, the seniors to take positions and submit on some of these bills, and they have to be submitted 30 days prior to convention for them to be taken up. So that would be April 30th. So I don't know whether you want to maybe plan a separate meeting just to go over the legislation and pick out the pieces that you would like to put forward. The reason being is that with the new rules with the state party is that we are limited to the number of bills that can be submitted. So it's going to be impossible for Los Angeles to submit everything that we've been able to take positions on. So, but caucuses are also able to submit legislation for consideration for positions. So that's food for thought right now. So if you want to move forward on some of these bills that are really going to be affecting us, I suggest that we plan, I guess, a separate meeting because I think you're pretty much at the close of this one. So that's my 2 cents at this point.
Okay. I'll quickly respond to that and say, I will work with our chair and our officers to make sure we include something in the next newsletter, which would be probably within the week. And make a call, put a call out through that newsletter for anyone to reach out to me to work on some of this for the legislative, I guess, process for CADEM. I've been working, I guess, on this for our caucus, and we'll make sure, due to limited capacity, that we'll call for help, and we will get through get some things through before that deadline.
So,
Incidentally, Jerry Lynn, I'm sorry.
Can-
Incidentally, Jerry Lynn, we have already discussed doing this, but we discussed doing it on the officer of the caucus level. But you mentioned doing it on the for the members to be able to participate, and I think that's a really good idea. So next up is Jerry Lynn. No, Jerry Lynn already talked. Diana Love.
Good
Go
evening.
ahead.
Good evening, Senior Caucus. I just put some information in the chat, but I want to start by thanking all of you on this call that have endorsed me. I am the secretary of the party, and I'm running for re-election for a full term. And I put something in the chat for those of you who would like to endorse me as an individual. And if you have any concerns or issues that you'd like to talk about, please feel free to give me a call. But I want to just address a couple of things. One of the things is what Christine Pelosi said. When she talked about Social Security and about the fact that we deserve it, we do deserve it. Those of us that get it deserve it. And we need to make those phone calls and make it known in our voice to not let anyone tell us that we don't deserve the money that we get for the 40 quarters that we put in to work all of our lives to get this money. So I know they're talking about how people that complain who are not going to get it don't deserve it. That is very much untrue, and we have to continue to speak up and speak out. And then lastly, I just want to address something. I know that a lot of people are talking about how the party has not been doing things and they were very displeased with the election. We were all heartbroken behind that. But here's a couple of statistics that I just want you to know is that during that campaign, the party did over 18 million texts that they sent out, and they dialed over 7 million phone calls and knocked over nearly 800,000 doors. That is a lot. And people donated like yourself. So just know that you may not see everything on social media. Everybody doesn't do social media, but we're trying to get our voices out there, pass on information, and we are there for you. And we're going to continue to let the administration know that we are displeased and unhappy with what they're doing. And let's continue to make those calls. Thank you so much.
Hey, Diana, if I may add something to what you were talking about, Social Security. It's SSI, Social Security Insurance, that we pay into for 40 or 50 years with our employers.
What's SSA?
Yes, but it's
Yes.
still insurance.
Yes.
And and getting rid of Social Security or making it difficult to use would sort of be like if a life insurance company decided, you know what, we don't want to pay off these life insurance policies, and what we'll do is we'll cut off all of our telephones so you can't even call to complain about. I don't think that would go over well.
That's true.
Next up, we have Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief and to the point. I just want to plug that Vice Chair David Campos is running for re-election. I also urge you all to support Secretary Love's re-election. For David specifically, I just want to share that, yes, he is involved with the California Commission on Aging, as Joe shared earlier in this call. And David believes that the Democratic Party is at its best when we're speaking to the full range of issues that Californians care about in a direct, honest, and actionable way. And so that's why he's running for re-election. I'll drop his information in the chat. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have David Wright.
Thank you. And hello, Senior Caucus. I'm fairly
You're
new.
a member.
I'm a member in it, but I'm fairly new. And I just want to say that I am just thoroughly amazed at the breadth of experience that I see here and the knowledge. And we need to keep promoting that we are the institutional knowledge that everybody needs to be able to tap into, especially labor, young Dems, and the other caucuses, because we have a lot of background that we can help build up the party, because we've already figured out what doesn't work. So thank you, and I yield my time back.
Okay, Lori, you're up next.
Yeah, well, I would like to say that I've been a lifelong Democrat, and I've been my first election was for Jimmy Carter, and I went out and I campaigned before I could even vote. But I was able to vote luckily on election day. But I just love being a Democrat. I've worked, at local. I'm right now I'm a co-chair of my local party, but I haven't been disappointed in the Democratic Party. I've been disappointed with elections, but not the Democratic Party. And I've had the opportunity to be in the California Democratic to some conventions and stuff, but I've never been as afraid as I am now, because I became disabled and I'm on Social Security disability, and the fact that could end is just frightening to me. And the person that is doing that is not the Democratic Party. It's a tyrant. And I'm sorry that is a Republican. But anyway, I just very proud of the Democrats, and I'm proud of what we've done, and I will keep supporting you, and I hope that we can stop this madman and his friends. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lori. It's not how you can stop these madmen, it's how we can stop these madmen. Okay, next up we have Dr. Sonneborn.
Hi, thank you. I just want to mention, and I know there's controversy about whether elections are going to be brought up at the convention, but whether that's true or not, I want to bring up one particular bill that the caucus and also individuals should be alerted to, and that's Senate Bill 42. And that is to place the California Fair Elections Act on the November 2026 ballot to allow voters to remove the prohibition on public financing of campaigns and establish reasonable safeguards for public financing systems. So this is something and I hope that the caucus will invite Trent Lang, who is the California Clean Money Campaign is the head advisor, but there's other groups that are cooperating with that. So I hope maybe that the bill is progressing, but it's not there all the way yet. So I hope that this can be brought up at the convention, as well as individuals paying attention to this and acting on it now or very soon.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last person to speak is going to be Cecile, who no doubt will wrap everything up, or she has a question.
Thank you for giving me a minute to speak. And thank you for all the information and for everyone here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the chair of the Small Business and Professionals Caucus. And I want to say that our caucus will be having a networking meeting on April 17th. For those of you, I'll be sending out an email. But we are concerned. Business is concerned in California. I know Andrew was here, and we are worried. Business is worried. I am a professional, professor at Cal State Northridge. If they pull our Pell Grants, we will lose $25 million out of the budget, and that will cut all of our programs. So we are concerned. And small business, the caucus is going to be doing everything it can. And we want to be in partnership with the other caucuses. So we'll join with the senior caucus and all the other caucuses, the labor caucus, to really do some good work for California and save our state and save our sanity and save our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecile.
Don't forget to vote for me for chair. I'll be running for chair again as chair of the Small Business Caucus.
Okay, thank you a lot. So that wraps up the meeting. I want to make a couple points first, though. Please join the senior caucus and keep in mind that we do have requirements. You have to be a Democrat, and you have to be either a senior, have a parent that is a senior, have a friend as a senior, or otherwise hope to become a senior someday. So on that note, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. This was really great. Bye.